Pluto is now in the second degree of Aquarius. And this Sabian symbol is referred to as an unexpected thunderstorm. And it refers to the ever-changing nature of life. We just cannot establish stability in life that lasts indefinitely. It's just not within our power to do that. All life is ephemeral. Nature is a constant existential challenge to the works of people. Fires, floods, and winds tear down our strongest buildings in moments, and time itself erodes everything eventually. By this fact we are reminded not only how small and insignificant we are, and how magnificent is any creation that stands against nature for a while. Yet we also remember the need to develop inwardly the strength to cope with it all. Though we want secure structures, nature always wins in the end. Submission to unforeseen and uncontrollable forces. With optimism and confidence, setbacks will always further our ends. It's quite a clear message, and it's in contrast to the first degree of Aquarius, whereas we were establishing the Adobe mission, that which could stand up against the forces against us, whether that was nature or in California in the days that they were built, the native Indians that were around there. Pluto is there. So we're talking about a major aspect of our development through history. Pluto is the march through history. In fact, in one way or another, all of the outer planets together do that. Pluto really makes it very obvious. So we're saying here that that which we have come to depend upon is not dependable. And if we look at the news today, we find so much testament to make this point. The idea here expresses beyond the physical, it expresses to the psychological. And we have come to understand that our way of life is safe and secure and dependable. We go to the supermarket and there's food there. Particularly, there's the food that we like. Not just a version of it, not just butter, but Irish butter with salt. Not just a toilet roll, but a double-plied, soft on your bum toilet roll. All of this very particular presentation of what we want is there in the supermarket. It's been that way for quite some time, increasingly so over the decades since the 50s, when we came out of the wartime austerity. Well, that's no longer. That's what Pluto's saying. No, you can't have that anymore. That which was dependable is gone. Or if it's not gone yet, it is going. Don't depend upon it. So the favorite food is a tiny, trivial example. We're talking about the security that we need to feel civilized almost. And where we have that security, there is civilized behavior. But where that security is lacking, there is not. Warfare has developed significantly quite recently, and it's likely to be worse next year. The issues that are coming up, bubbling to the surface now, that have been suppressed for some 50, 60 years, they will not be denied. These are natural forces. And on one level, this is the force of revolution, rebelliousness of the people against corruption of government. This is a major feature of this era. And so when Pluto is in the second degree of Aquarius, we can expect that to come into our attention. But the deeper teaching here is to look within yourself and to examine that which you find necessary to cement your sense of security. And we're being asked to challenge whether it is necessary. The only way it would become an irrelevance to us, where we could be indifferent to whether or not we have the correct toilet paper or butter, that would be an inner evolutionary soul level development. This is a spiritual practice of developing indifference. On one level, we have become so dependent upon our families, our lovers, our employers, and all of these people that establish our emotional security, as well as the things in the shops, as well as the geopolitics of the era. We've become so dependent upon that any threat to that makes us emotional. And when we're emotional, we're non-rational. We are much more readily likely to make the wrong decisions, take the wrong moves. Our intuitive spontaneity is warped when we do not have a sense of inner stability. Now, if you have invested your inner stability in outer things, whether those are people or things in the shops or things on the news, if that's where you invest your stability, well, it's not secure. It never has been. And that which has denied the inevitable implications of investing in the insubstantial, these repressive forces are being released now. There's an explanation for that in a geopolitical sense, but really we need to look deeper than that. We need to look at what's going on spiritually for us. Many of us believe that this is the unfolding of the age of fundamental change, where the species, the human species, moves up a level spiritually. It might be worth making a couple of comments about that. It is clearly understood and examined and seen in practice within the individual's spiritual path that there are stages that we go through. Sometimes it's a eureka experience, like, yeah, now I understand. Usually it's not, it's just a gentle movement where you're more and more at peace with yourself, with your beliefs, with your faith. Those two things, the escarpment, the general increase, and the radical shift, the dimensional shift, those are two features of our spiritual awakening. And this must be extended into the collective sense of what's going on, as well as the individual. So collectively, we look at issues like gender issues, homosexuality, racial issues, the rights of women, all of these things. And little by little, we deal with them until such time as it's gone too far, or it's just not working well. And then you get this more explosive dimensional shift of consciousness. And we're going through one of those right now. The general idea, for example, here's a very poignant example in today's history and news development, that the idea of being courteous, basically respectful towards those whose sexuality is in question or different from ours, or those whose religious beliefs or gender differs from ours, or whatever, being respectful to these differences between who we are and who they are, that would be considered an appropriate evolutionary and spiritual evolutionary development of our species. However, when it becomes radicalized and used for political purposes, as for example feminism certainly was in the 60s, in my experience, continued in the 80s, and for all I know is still being used not to liberate women, but to punish men for having not been very polite for quite some millennia. Well, it goes wrong then. If the typical feminist is an angry, resentful person, then he would just swing the pendulum the other way, and we'll have to deal with the other end of the equation. Now, this may well be happening with the woke culture, where there's evidence that in some cases it's gone too far. And this is the kind of thing that we're discussing in Aquarius 2, Sabian symbol. The inevitability that when things go too far, there will be a natural reaction. I mean, on an obvious level, fires, floods, and natural disasters are giving us clear evidence that we've taken industrialization too far. However, that will all resonate on all levels. So there will be the equivalent emergency resolution on all levels, psychological, on all issues. And Pluto's the energy that says, now's the time to do that. So I think what we have to do is to prepare ourselves inwardly for the fact that what we have felt to be dependable and secure is not anymore. And I'm not saying it's not going to be anymore. I'm saying it's not. Nothing can be considered dependable now if what is happening is happening. What we want to happen is that we're awakening. The species is awakening to a new level of consciousness. We're suddenly moving up a dimensional shift in spiritual awareness during this historical time period. Now that necessarily means that there will be upsets, the like of which we haven't known in our lifetime. So I think we do need to take seriously what's happening to us and look for clues and make your decisions about what you want to do now that you can no longer depend upon what was previously thought to be dependable.